This time we have some special announcement that's coming up. We have a team coming on the platform to give you a little more of a details to what you see on the seat next to you. You might have had a chance to look at that already, but we're gonna talk about that for a little bit. So, oh, what?
Good morning, everyone. You might be wondering why all these good-looking people are on stage today. Thank you. It went over well. My wife will apologize for me later, don't worry. But we're here to talk to you about money. Yes, I'm glad we got some. It's a taboo thing to be in a church, talk about money. Everybody hold on to your wallets, okay? If you're visiting us for the first time, congratulations. You get to be in a church where we talk to you about money right now. But to get a little more serious, we had a ministry meeting a few weeks ago. And the heartbeat of the church, we have it on stage, Return, Rebuild, Receive. We talked about what that meant to us as a newer generation that's coming up, a new generation of leaders. And something that came up in the meeting, this wasn't from pastor, it was from us. We really had a heartbeat for the generations coming up after us. Like, yes, we're new to this leadership, but we also know that there will be generations that come up behind us. And what we're here to talk to you about, the only really outstanding debt that this church has is its mortgage, and it's been there for over 30 years. And it's supposed to take about 8 years to clean that up. We have put a plan together that we're going to talk to you about how we can eliminate that debt in 3 years. But we want to come together as a church. I've been here for 6 years, and I've never seen pastor talk about money, any financial goals. We've prayed for other things. We've come together as a church to accomplish other things in prayer as a body, but we've never tried to accomplish something financially. And we feel very strongly about this, and that's why we're here to talk to you.
Like Frank said, there's this newer generation rising up to take some leadership. But personally, for me, Hunter, Brittany, JD, us on the platform, we grew up in this church. We're a part of the legacy that was started by our grandparents and our parents. Everything you see here was built by them and by their faithful giving, but also through their time and other sacrifices. And so what we're asking for you today is to join us. Every person up here is invested in this and with their time and also their money. So we're asking you to join us and be prayerfully considerate about what you want to give, and then be part of what we're going into building this for this next generation and what's coming with that little baby down there.
So to be honest with you, when this idea was first proposed, I wasn't super on board or excited. I didn't grab the heart behind it. And so I didn't understand why. Why do we need to do this now? And the truth of the matter is that we don't need to do this right now, but the people standing before you really have a heart for, we want to do this right now. We feel called to do this right now. And so I took my resistance, my doubts, my fears, my questions, and I brought it before the Lord, and I asked God why, and I asked him to show me. And he shifted my perspective from being about money to being about a call to reevaluate my commitment level and my sacrifice to this church. And he began to open my eyes to what this church represents and means in my life. And it is our family, but we view this as an inheritance that we get to be partakers in. And there's no better way to invest in our future than in this way. And God is going to bless that and honor that.
Now, as the math person, along with Stephanie Davis, who couldn't be here today, we wanted to say we did the math, and it does actually check out. Specifically, which is important. To have a goal and actually be achievable is two different things. The Bible actually says to do that. In Luke 14, it says, suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? For if you lay the foundation and are not able to finish, everyone who sees you will ridicule you, saying this person began to build and was unable to finish. So what's the plan? The plan is $14 a week per person, and this will eliminate the debt within 3 years. Now, don't show of hands, but I know there are many of you here that have retired their own mortgages, or maybe for younger people, your own debts that are tangible, a car or a bigger loan, and there's something that's sort of intangible and unexplainable about it. And for those who paid off something they own, it feels different. And in any case, this was accomplished through your discipline and your focus. And Hebrews 12 says, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. And Proverbs 13, last one I'll read, says, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. And that is what we're looking to do today, to finish what the generation, the foundation generation, as we've been calling it, has begun. We want to look to finish.
So 3 years ago this week, I came to this church for the first time. Didn't know anything about it. I just know there was a pretty girl here that I liked a lot, and I wanted to keep coming here. 3 years, and that's what we're talking about today. And it's kind of ironic for me to think about that, because 3 years I had no idea what my life was going to look like. And today I stand here, and this is home. And we're talking about what the future looks like, what the next 3 years looks like. So I want you for the next couple minutes, think about not what you see here today, but what we could see in 3 years. Think about that mortgage. Think of it being gone. When you come and you tithe and you bring your offering, you don't have to think about that at all. So where does that money go? It could stay in your pocket if you want, but we want you to continue to tithe, to continue to bring that money here and bring it to the different life groups and ministries that we've built in this church. Built the ones that we haven't even built yet, that we've thought about, that we've talked about, and maybe we didn't have the money for, but we could have the money once we pay off this mortgage. Think about the people that are not in this church. Like myself 3 years ago was not in this church. A few other people here, probably not in this church 3 years. We have the ability to bring people to this church every day and bring them to the Lord first and foremost, most importantly. Think about those people being able to come to this church, and we can tell them as a visitor of this church, hey, we are working together as one church to get rid of this mortgage, so when you come here, you don't have to worry about that. The only thing you have to worry about is your relationship with each other and God. Think about, as we talked about, the babies who haven't been born here yet, the people who haven't gotten married who may bring their spouse here, like myself. We are looking towards the future, and we're talking about 3 years, and we're talking about a decent amount of money, but we're not just talking about 3 years. This church has been around for over 30 years, as Frank said, as is that mortgage. When that's all gone, we're still thinking about the next 5, 10, 30 years with this generation and the generations to come. So we hope that you join us in this. This is very important to us, and we'd love to talk to you more about it after the presentation is over and after church is over.
Quick shocker, the children's church director is going to talk to you about the future. So, as everyone up here has mentioned a little bit, there have been generations and generations of this church. Austin and I are third generation. Hunter, JD, Jason, many of us have been here our entire lives, or people that we've brought with us through marriage, through friendships, through anything. And then there's like Valerie and Anna Rose and Joshua, who are now fourth generation of this church. And everything that's been built here, to me, has had a bigger meaning, because this church has made me who I am. I did RCA, I've just been here my entire life, and I met my husband on a camping trip from this church. My pastor married us, and he dedicated my child. Like, this has been my home, and I want it to be able, we all want it to be able to be a home for the fourth generation, for the fifth generation, for all of your kids, your grandkids, your friends and family who you want to be able to bring to church. And having this paid off will allow us to have opportunities that will be VBSs that will extend farther than we can imagine, because we didn't have to worry about this extra fund every month. And we were able to extend the women's programs to do retreats twice a year, and men's to be able to do breakfast every Saturday if they wanted to, because they really like breakfast. There are different things for every group of this church, and having this paid off allows for that opportunity. It allows for growth, and it allows for so many people to call this place home, because it's not a burden anymore, and we can reach farther out than we can even imagine, really. And that's my plan, so that's all I have.
All right. So, as we said, our mantra has been this return, rebuild, receive. It's no coincidence that it's the R3 campaign, because that's the season we're in. These 3 R's are the season we're in. But if you look in the pamphlets, you know, when we first put them together, it was what, how, and why. But it really struck me 3 different R's for a season coming up behind this accomplishment of retirement, retiring that debt, relief of the burden of the debt, and reinvesting, like we just said, reinvesting in the future. You know, all of us up here, this is our home. Some of us, as we've laid out, through legacy, some of us through seeking. But we are all bought in. And we've all decided amongst ourselves, you know, we're not going to come to you with a plan, hands out, with no intention of partaking in it ourselves. So we've all, plus a couple who couldn't be here today, have committed to that, at minimum, that $14 a week each, which that equates to standing in front of you just amongst us, already a 10% reduction over that 3-year period. That's a big deal. Now, there's far more of you out there than there are us up here. So think about that, multiply it out, extrapolate it out amongst all of you. You know, we've been kind of called out a few times as the, you know, this new generation, this next generation, this rising generation who's going to take the baton, as Del said this morning, and run with it. And y'all have been running a long time. And I think this allegory came in when we were talking amongst ourselves of just, my wife's a runner, I used to be a runner, and anybody that's done a road race, you know, you're standing at that starting line. And I was, what are they doing? They're not playing Ave Maria, right? They're playing Eye of the Tiger. They're playing Thunderstruck. Pastor, cover your eyes. And how many have heard it? All right. Why are they doing that? They're doing that to psych you up. They're doing that so you're just like, you're ready to just run through a wall, right? That's where we feel we're at as a generation. We're ready to run through a wall. And but we need to remove this obstacle. Last week, Pastor talked about removing obstacles in our way. And this mortgage is an obstacle that stands in the way of the exponential growth that we want to see happen. So we want to invite you to join us in a move of faith, a move of self-sacrifice that we can collectively, across generations, reach up to heaven and pull down a miracle of relief of this burden of debt. And it's going to take all of us. Now, you know, you hear the $14. Obviously, that's not 14 or get out. We don't want it. Obviously, all gifts make a difference. We're not expecting you to right today fill out that little slip. We really want to encourage you to go home, pray about it, think about it, because even as Stephanie laid out, you know, some of us in that meeting, we were struck immediately. We're like, yes. But, you know, she needed to go home and think about it and meditate on it and pray about it, and that's the right thing to do, all right? And that's what we're asking for you guys to do. Now, we're all familiar with the multiple ways that we have to give. We're looking to hopefully gather up these pledge slips within the next, 3 weeks? Yes, 3 weeks, so that we can kind of get a gauge of where we're at and see how quickly we will be able to accomplish this goal. So, again, go home, pray about it, meditate on it, fast about it, and I think we can accomplish something really awesome, really amazing, really unifying, to really just toss that burden out into the ocean of forgetfulness and just put it behind us and just race forward. Thank you very much.